maybe to start the season, we were just still riding that Stanley Cup champion buzz, you know, because it looks like the hangover's starting to settle in. Honestly, since the Chicago game, Vegas Golden Knights haven't really seemed like they've had that same vigor that they used to start the season with. But sky's not falling. The Vegas Golden Knights win 3-2 against the Montreal Canadiens in the shootout. Wasn't pretty for multiple reasons. There's a few different stats that I can use to back this up. This is the third straight game that has gone to overtime. Fourth total out of 10, which, you know, is kind of a lot. Especially 3 of them in the shootout, which I just, and the one that wasn't in the shootout, Vegas lost. So it seems to be an inverse of a couple of years ago. Vegas was unbeatable in overtime. Technically, they're still unbeaten in overtime. And then 2 years ago, couldn't win a shootout to save our life. We're 3-0 in shootouts this year. 10 games in, I don't really like that stat. This game. So the first period, Vegas gets on the board first. Paul Cotter sends it on the power play. Vegas scores a power play goal. They threw both Dorofeev and Cotter out there on the same power play unit, and it worked. Paul Cotter sends it on. It goes off of a Canadian defender's body and past Montembeault to make it 1-0 Vegas. And this stat, this is the first game in the last 7 where Vegas has entered the first intermission going into the second period leading the game. Dave Gaucher's comment right after, it doesn't seem to matter because they keep winning. Great. And you know, they don't ask how, they ask how many. Yes, they are finding ways to win, and that is hugely important. I wish they would do it more convincingly. In the second period, Adin Hill has been playing great so far. And then Vegas on the power play, the puck goes back to Adin Hill and he mishandles it and whiffs on it directly over to Monahan, and he tries to recover but he can't. Monahan outweights him, sends it in. Shorthanded goal, tie game off of a huge blunder from Adin Hill. Vegas goalies giving Montreal a goal. If it was Josh Anderson again though, that would have probably been But then to end the period, Vegas on a delayed penalty for Montreal, so it's 6-on-5, where, before we get to that, Nick Hague got a shove down to the ice, landed on his shoulder, did not look comfortable, and then Adin Hill gets run over by a Montreal Canadien, and the Montreal Canadien's on his pad as Hill goes back, and it stretches him very uncomfortably. He had to, he was struggling to get off the ice for the extra attacker. There were a couple of different times where I thought that they were going to touch the puck, whistle, but it doesn't end up happening, and Stevenson flies into the zone, because of course he does. Gotta get a frequent flyer card because rack up those miles. But he zones in and then no look backhand sauces this over to William Carrier, who bats the thing in on the delayed penalty to make it 2-1 Vegas. What? However, the second period, the Vegas Golden Knights had 2 shots on goal. There was a game 2 years ago where it was the first period against the Montreal Canadiens, and they outshot Vegas 20-1. Here it was only 10-2, so half of theirs and double ours, but that's not great. We did score on one of them, so yay. And then in the third period, they outshot us 17-5. Vegas was holding on for dear life, and Adin Hill played fantastically after his blunder in the second period. He made incredible saves. The Montreal Canadiens were pressing and they had a lot of good pressure. If this was in NHL 24 with the sustained pressure o-meter or whatever, they would have scored like 4 times. However, Montreal continues to press. They aren't able to get it on the power play, but they do tie the game. Nick Suzuki creates this play, gets it in, and it's tie game with like 3.5 minutes left. Adin Hill is the reason it's 2-2. He's also the reason it's 2-2 in both different directions. So can't put it on him. Where did our offense go in the second and third period? That's really, you know, it. One other funny thing in the third before I go into overtime, Jack Eichel skates into the goalie, Montembeault, and it's a penalty. It's goaltender interference. But he clearly like is apologizing or making sure that Montembeau's okay. And like you can see like he has a full-on conversation while the other Canadians are staring him down. And then he backs away and that's when he gets mobbed. And that's just funny to me. And yeah, like defending your goalie, 100% agree. But you waited until after he got out of the crease. That was weird. So we go to overtime. And Vegas had more shots in overtime than they did in the entire third period and had triple the amount of shots that they had in the second period with 6 in overtime. And you know, Montembeau, it was like it switched. Hill was fantastic. And then Montembeau also just was like, yep, nope, I'm gonna be fantastic in overtime, and including on a penalty shot that was awarded to Jack Eichel, who was being held by Nick Suzuki as he drove the net. And he was asking for it. He's like, yes, ref, give me this. I want the penalty shot. And the ref gives it to him. And then Montembeau robs him. Jack Eichel makes a good move, but it just wasn't there. And so there are a couple of good chances either way, but nobody's able to get one, so it goes into the shootout for the second game in a row and the third game in 10. But this is the third game in 4 days. Like, you knew like they're probably tired, you know? So they send Paul Cotter out first, which I love this because he loves these moments. He talked about this before when LT called him out and was like, yep, I want him to do it. And so I got it, but he's not able to get it. Montembeau makes a good save. And then Nick Suzuki streams in and scores for Montreal. We send out Jonathan Marchessault. And what a move, Jonathan Marchessault, to be able to get this puck past Montembeau. Tied, but Montreal has the advantage because they send another one out. I think it was Monahan. No, it was Caulfield. Adin Hill makes a save. So Jack Eichel comes in. It looks very similar to his penalty shot, but Montembeau also makes the save here. And you can see Eichel just really was like frustrated with himself for not getting either of those two. He wanted it so bad. I mean, they didn't seem to want it until overtime in the shootout, so maybe start that the second and third period. And then Sean Monahan comes in and save from Adin Hill, so we go to round 4. Shea Theodore is who you send up next, and he puts on his filthy move, and it just makes me giddy every time I see it, and it goes in the net because it is so disgusting. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Advantage to Vegas. Alex Newhook is who the Canadiens send in fourth, and he rings it off the post and out. Adin Hill wins in the shootout. Vegas Golden Knights win in the shootout, and it was not, like I said in the beginning, it wasn't a pretty win, but they still won. So the Vegas Golden Knights are 9-0-1 to start the season. Unbelievable start, 10-game point streak for Vegas. Little bit of a break as our next game is on Thursday. However, we have a back-to-back on Saturday, Sunday, and then another break till Wednesday. So, you know, we'll see how that goes. And the Grays, I really missed seeing them, and I didn't realize that until the game happened. Obviously, I like the Gold as our home, and I think that it works for Vegas. And having this in sparingly definitely it just helps, but I really liked seeing that today, especially without the gold and chrome buckets. And happy Halloween. Anyways, it's gonna be it for Game 10's nightly review. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.